Russia, China, and North Korea are developing a more purpose-driven alignment. It's not yet a NATO-style treaty alliance. I don't frankly think it ever will be, not in full at least, but increasingly we see shared aims to constrain U.S. influence, exploit cracks in allied unity, stretch Western deterrence, and normalize acts of coercion as tools of statecraft.
Welcome to the Civic Brief with Dr. Isaiah Ike Wilson III, where complex issues meet everyday lives. Now, let's begin.
Moscow calls Pyongyang a strategic partner. Beijing hosts Putin after large Chinese-Russian drills. Missiles and arms shipments flow across borders. Russian drones breach Polish airspace for 7 hours straight in September 2025. Folks, these are not isolated signals. They're coordinated provocations. Add in Washington's political rhetoric about America First 3.0, and you see the outlines of a new counter-coalition forming. Is this an axis? What role have our own policies played in perhaps causing it? Here's the bottom line. Russia, China, and North Korea are developing a more purpose-driven alignment. It's not yet a NATO-style treaty alliance. I don't frankly think it ever will be, not in full at least, but increasingly we see shared aims to constrain U.S. influence, exploit cracks in allied unity, stretch Western deterrence, and normalize acts of coercion as tools of statecraft. And they didn't do this in a vacuum. Our own USA inward turn, our withering political consensus, in some respects, wavering foreign policy, on others, tendencies towards U.S. alone, go it alone, and isolationist combined impulses. All this has given them room. America First 3.0 signals aren't just slogans, they are cues to Moscow, Beijing, and Pyongyang. Now, travelers, let's look at the evidence in recent concrete events. Poland drone incursion, September 9th through 10th, 2025. Nearly 19 to 23 Russian drones entered Polish airspace, launched from Russia and Belarus during Russian strikes in Ukraine. NATO scrambled jets, Polish and allied aircraft shot down at least 8 of the drones. Key airports closed temporarily. Poland invoked Article 4 of the NATO treaty. Then there's in concert at the same time, the Zapad 2025 exercise between Russia and Belarus. These joint drills involved thousands of troops, including simulated scenarios near NATO's eastern flank. They occurred precisely as Polish airspace was being probed. The simultaneity magnifies the signal and raises alarm. Now let's look at and review Russia-China defense and technology cooperation. In mid-2025, the two states deepened their military technical partnership. China is providing Russia materiel in dual-use goods under sanctions. Joint drills, institutional coordination, and arms energy deals have and continue to expand. Russia, North Korea treaty exchanges. Their 2024 comprehensive strategic partnership is not dormant. Intelligence reports indicate that thousands of North Korean troops have deployed in support roles, engineering units assisting reconstruction in Russian frontlands, and continued military exchanges. The treaty obliges mutual assistance, quote, unquote, without delay. And Pyongyang is fulfilling parts of that. We also have to look at the border defense collaboration between Russia, China, and Mongolia. Now, in early September 2025, the three states ran joint buffer border drills under the banner, quote, Border Defense Cooperation 2025, further showing the expansion of PRC-Russia and Russia-PRC-Mongolia cooperation into multi-border, multi-domain security coordination. Poland not only shot down drones in terms of a U.S. NATO responses, Poland not only shot down drones, it closed multiple airports. It formally invoked again Article 4. NATO has launched strengthened readiness along its eastern flank, including upgraded air defenses. Again, European allies, France, Germany, etc., they're contributing fighter jets, patrolling airspace more aggressively, issuing diplomatic protests. So, the evidence is really thick. Border violations, formal treaties, drills near allied territory, and a responsive but still cautious Western alignment. So why has this axis-like convergence sharpened in the year 2025? Good question. Ukraine's war fatigue, but adversary persistence. Russia's frankly under heavy sanctions, yet China remains its economic lifeline. Beijing's continued procurement of Russian oil, minerals, and supply of dual-use technology is helping sustain Moscow in this fight. Meanwhile, burden of the war is bleeding Europe, but Russia is increasingly less vulnerable to peer pressure. Also, North Korea's more open support for Russian operations. Again, intelligence estimates now suggest over 14,000 personnel have been transferred since late 2024 in various support, construction and engineering capacities, to name two. The treaty's obligations are being operationalized. That's the key point. We also see probing of NATO's resolve, the Polish drone incursion, perhaps the starkest. It isn't just aggression, folks, it's a test. Will NATO defend its eastern flank? Can it? Will Article 5 be triggered? The response? Yes, alarms sounded, some drones shot down, but high risk of miscalculation. Another thing to consider, our own domestic politics. In the US and among allies, foreign policy is increasingly fractured. Rhetoric of isolation and skepticism about alliance burdens, these things embolden Russia, China, and North Korea. Adversaries see vacuums, and then they take action to fill them. Let's also look at technological accelerants. Things like drones, long-range missiles, dual-use technology, artificial intelligence-enabled surveillance. All these things make border incursions and coercion cheaper and less risky. The cost to adversaries is tolerable, especially if they gain strategic messaging value. Now, to push back, we need clear guardrails and we need to take actions. Here are three essential actions that is, in 2025 that we can and should be taking now. First, strengthen allied eastern border defense posture, not just in hardware, but in rules of engagement. Again, Poland's response in September must be the baseline, not the outlier. NATO should publish clearer doctrines for airspace violations, especially for drone waves. Mutual early warning systems, shared radar coverage, and quick reaction force protocols are necessities, imperatives even. Second, solidify polycentric or multi-nodal alliances. Encourage collectives like ASEAN, India, Japan, South Korea to act not just as partners, but as co-defenders. The U.S. must track its credibility with consistent foreign policy, meeting obligations and not retreating under turmoil at home. Thirdly, codified technological guardrails, human control in lethal decision chains, export controls on artificial intelligence drone technology, sanctions for entities that supply dual-use systems for border transgressions. Folks, transparency in supply chains, delay proliferation of tech that enables remote offense without clear administrative accountability. Now, travelers, let's be clear. Russia, China, North Korea are not invincible, no, not even close. But in 2025, they are accelerating an axis formed as much by our own failures at home as their actions abroad. When America looks divided, the beckoning becomes real. The incursion into Poland, the drills near NATO's borders, the burgeoning tech cooperation, these are more than news items. They are turning points. We cannot let us not allow America first mean and become America alone. We need alliance, we need clarity, and we need resilience. If you want depth, the one-pager in the notes has maps, treaty text, risk matrices. Please subscribe and share this episode and tell me what you think. What guardrail scares you the most? And which ones we must build first?
Thanks for tuning into the Civic Brief. Got questions, insights, or ideas? Join us at thecivicbrief.com to continue the dialogue. Subscribe, share, and be part of shaping the future, one brief at a time.